Hey cool aunties and uncles, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a Q&A about solo traveling or doing things alone. A few of you submitted questions through my Instagram story, so I'm going to go through and answer them all. Stick around till the end of the video because I'll be sharing a few cities that I recommend for first-time solo travelers. Let's get started! Okay, first question, what's your favorite thing about doing things alone? You are on your own schedule and you can do whatever the heck you want. I think that's one of my favorite parts is like, if I'm not feeling this thing that I'm doing, then I can just leave and go on to the next thing. And that has been my favorite part about doing things by myself, because I can just go at my own pace, I can take my time, and I really just can immerse myself in the moment and really enjoy what I'm doing. Next question, how did you find your threshold for what you will or will not do alone? I think a lot of people, especially women, are afraid to do things by themselves just because there are so many external threats out there. But I think what I've learned is that I need to put myself in the safest situation. I will usually make sure that I won't have any risk to being taken advantage of. I usually don't drink that much when I'm traveling by myself. I will only have like 1 or 2 drinks. You just never know. You know, we hear stories all the time about people getting roofied, and I think I will also listen to my gut feeling. So if I'm feeling really uneasy about it, I won't do it. I won't force myself to do something. And I think I've had to realize what's the difference between me being really uneasy about it because of my safety, or if I'm anxious about just doing something new, then I will try to kind of push myself to do it. Any tips for solo traveling for the first time? My first tip is to practice being by yourself and doing things on your own. What I would recommend is actually maybe taking a weekend trip by yourself first so that you can practice being by yourself and you're not practicing going on a solo trip by yourself, like outside, halfway across the world from your safety net. So I would say just practice getting comfortable being by yourself. That could just start off with going out on like an overnight trip to like a nearby city. The biggest thing that people have expressed to me about solo traveling is that they just don't want to do something alone and they're afraid of navigating traveling by themselves. But I think it has helped me travel by myself on weekend trips, and I've gotten that practice of being by myself and being able to like navigate traveling by myself, and then that has helped me apply that to my international trips. I would say take the time to do the research. I know that leading up to a trip can be stressful, and I definitely have left my research to the last minute, but if that is the case, usually my first thing to do once I get to my destination is to take the time to do research, because you will feel way more prepared about going through the day and feel more confident about where you're going if you do the research. What I mean by research is try to have a loose plan about what you want to see each day or what you want to see throughout the whole trip. And I usually will search those in the maps and see what is in each general area. And then I think also what's helpful is understanding what is your transportation going to look like in the city. Some cities have really great public transportation, so you can get in everywhere really easily. Some cities you would probably need to take a car or either rent a car or like take Ubers or Lyfts around, but that's all part of the research phase. And I think that has helped me feel confident about navigating a city, because I know if I needed to get somewhere, I can confidently know I can take this route, or I can take an Uber to this, or it's only going to take me 15 minutes to get to this spot. So doing research is definitely key. And one other tip about doing your research, if you're feeling like you're lost out on the street, don't look like you're lost. I think like that's a perfect opportunity for someone malicious to like try to help you, and then they might scam you. What I like to do if I'm feeling lost is I'll just like keep walking, like I know where I'm going. I will just find like a good place where I can like look at my phone and just like try to figure out and like redirect myself, or I will like go find a cafe, sit in the cafe and like collect my thoughts and make the next plan. So don't look lost. I think that like has helped me feel more safe, because like if I'm like, oh, I have no idea where I'm going right now, I will just like try to find like a safe place to like collect my thoughts. Another tip is booking tours. If you're not comfortable with creating an itinerary for traveling, then booking tours is totally okay. I've done it before, and actually on some of my trips, my tours consisted of other solo travelers. So it's a great way to meet new people. And even if they're not solo travelers, there have been really good people to just like chat with and meet. I usually use TripAdvisor or Viator. I think that's how you say it, Viator, to plan tours, or even Airbnb experiences. I've booked cooking classes on Airbnb experiences, and yeah, it's a really great way to not feel like you're doing something alone, and you can meet new people. Another question that I think is related is, do you feel lonely? I'm the only child, so I know how it is to just do things by myself. That's just how I grew up. And on top of that, I am an introvert. The way that I define myself as an introvert is how I gain energy. And the way that I gain energy is just to not talk to anyone and just be in silence. I actually thrive in the environment where I can just be by myself. I have been lonely in the past, but it is rare. And I think when I do feel lonely, I just have to remind myself this is an experience that I will keep with me, and I will only know this experience, and it's something that is mine. It's just time that you can spend just reflecting and taking everything in without having any distractions. You can really like take it in for yourself. And I really enjoyed that. I think I've really enjoyed going and traveling to a new place and just like taking it all in and like reflecting on it. I would say if you feel lonely during your trip, try to remember that this is an experience that you will only have. And if you do want to share with someone, there's nothing wrong with calling someone during your travels and kind of updating with how you're doing. Especially if you're taking a longer trip, I encourage you to like set time to like call your loved ones back home. This is your life, and it's an experience that you are going to be able to keep with you forever. So aren't you afraid of going to a city or country for the first time? Yeah, it can be scary. I think it goes back to what I was talking about before, is doing your research and making sure that you're not putting your safety in jeopardy. I think it's definitely nerve-wracking going to a country where you don't speak the language, but that's where you can use your resources of using Google Translate or any translation tool. The cool thing about Google Translate is that it has like a feature where you can use the camera, take a photo of a sign, and then it'll translate it to English or whatever language that you want to. And I think like as you're practicing solo traveling, going to like major cities is helpful, because especially tourist areas, because you usually there are places that cater to tourists, have English signs or English menus if you're going to a restaurant. When I started traveling, I made sure to go to major cities, and I still do. Those are like the main places I go to when I've traveled so far, is to main cities. And so I haven't had any like major issues because I was like in a touristy area where they expect people to speak English. And I think just be respectful, you know, if you run into someone that you're trying to ask a question and they don't speak English, just try to use your translate tool. And that just goes back to researching. I'll tell a funny story. A friend and myself went to Amsterdam for the first time, and we didn't do research about the language, and we were trying to speak Dutch. And it turns out that most people in Amsterdam speak English. So thank you to that lady who let us know that saw us struggling to speak Dutch. I think, yeah, just use your resources on translation tools. And like I said, just practice traveling. Going to a new country can be really daunting, and it is. But, you know, I go back to my North Star of I'm just trying to be out here experiencing new things. And I feel like experiencing new things and exploring a whole new country and a whole new city, like that holds more value and outweighs my nervousness of being in a new city and like feeling like I'm gonna look dumb trying to speak the language. Yeah, and I will say, like I've been saying, is like it takes a lot of practice to get to that point, and that's why I feel like it's better to just start small on these little trips, and then you can kind of build to larger international trips. As I mentioned before, the safety thing is a big thing. I really try to just like think like, am I gonna be in a safe situation if I do this thing? If I'm feeling uneasy about my safety, I won't do it, and I won't push my threshold. Do you go in with any expectations? I think the only expectations that I have is wanting to do all of the things that I've researched, like all of the restaurants and sites I want to see. But I kind of keep a loose itinerary so that I can explore and go off the plan if I want to. I think in my list, I will also note things that I am okay with not seeing, but it could be like a time filler if I do have time. That's a thing too, is that I review the list of things that I want to see in a city and like revise that list day by day and things and how I'm feeling. My itinerary can change based on how I'm feeling when I get there. How do you tackle being away from family and friends and being in a foreign land? We live in a world where we have technology. We can call and text and FaceTime our friends. I'd like to just keep my family and friends updated. I send them pictures to just make sure they know that I'm safe. I schedule calls with them so that I can catch them up and you know, just keep the conversation going and texting them throughout the day. And it does make it feel less lonely because you do have people that you're keeping updated. That's kind of how I deal with being away from people that I know. This is not really a question that someone asked, but something that people have expressed to me is that they feel like people are like, they're nervous about what other people might think of them being by themselves. And I will tell you that I felt that same way. Like I felt like people were like staring at me, you know, when I'm being by myself, or when I'm traveling by myself. But honestly, I feel like one, people don't usually notice that you're by yourself. And two, if they do notice, they're more just curious about like, what are you doing by yourself? Or even they're just like admiring that you're by yourself or you're doing the damn thing by yourself. And that actually helps you strike up a conversation with strangers too. Like some people will ask And I think one thing to know is like, be sure to like assess if you feel safe telling the person that you're by yourself. And then you can have like a conversation. That's how you can meet someone. And I will say, like, going to restaurants by yourself, I feel like the waiters and waitresses are much more personable when you're by yourself. And like, I feel like I can have like a cool conversation with them because they still have like good hospitality, but I think like they are able to like relax a little bit because it's just like one person that they're serving. And if you feel like people are staring at you, like whatever, you are experiencing this for your own self. Like, they don't have anything to do with you doing this like solo trip. Like, you just like taken the experience for something that you can keep for yourself. Pay no mind to them. If you're feeling nervous, just think, you have two options. You can be nervous and just like stay in your hotel room and don't do the things that you want to see because you're nervous, or go out there and explore and experience all this cool new stuff that you can keep for memories. I think that's like way more valuable, and that really drives me when I am traveling by myself, and it really drives me to really experience everything because you might not get the chance to do this and be in the city ever again, and you just have to take it all in. All right, and the last thing is I want to share a few cities that I recommend to practice your solo traveling in. These are some cities that I've navigated by myself, especially when I was first starting to travel by myself. So in the US, I would recommend these cities: Seattle, Washington, Portland, Oregon, New York, and Chicago, Illinois. The reason I recommend Seattle and Portland, because you could probably see all of the main sites within a weekend, and these are actually one of my first few cities that I traveled to by myself. So I really enjoyed it. I recommend New York and Chicago because they do have really great public transportation, and that is super helpful when you're traveling because you can get to places pretty easily. And then if you're looking for international trip recommendations, I would say Bangkok, Thailand, Singapore, and London are really great places to travel by yourself. And again, it goes back to public transportation. And if you're looking for places that speak English, Singapore and London, they speak English. And Bangkok, Thailand, not everyone speaks English, but it's really easy to navigate the public transportation because I think there is English translation. And a lot of people do speak English, not everyone, but when you go to restaurants, they'll usually have like an English menu or like some sort of translation, at least in the main part of the city. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, everyone. I think this won't be the last of the series. So if you have more questions, feel free to leave the questions in the comments below and I'll make another video. And let me know if you have any other topics that you want me to speak to. I'll also accept those in the comments below. And if you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Thanks, cool aunties and uncles, for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.